Okay, so imagine your favorite K-pop bands, like say Blackpink and BTS, wanted to destroy each other, and not just on the charts, but with like magic swords and superpowers. That's basically the premise of K-pop Demon Hunters. This Netflix movie, it's hitting theaters this weekend in sing-along form, and we're gonna get into the huge cultural impact that it's had. I'm Rad Simon Play, sitting in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. Regina Kim is here. Rachel Ho is here. Jackson Weaver's here. Welcome to Commotion, y'all.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be
Hello.
here.
All right, look, let's kick things off with this.
You think we're just gonna let you steal our fans? You're gonna have to fight us for them. Yeah, keep your hands off our honeymoon.
Well, we're not here to fight. They are.
Water demons.
Oh, great. My favorite.
Get rid of the hunters. Then you can eat all the souls you want.
So that was a bit of K-pop Demon Hunters. Now look, like this movie premiered on Netflix back in June. It was #1 back then. It has stayed #1 all the way till now, and it's now like the second most watched movie in Netflix history. Rachel, I mean, talk to me about the staying power that this movie has had. How has it continued to dominate like this?
I think it's about expectations in a big way. When it first came out, I'm sure a lot of people dismissed it. They thought it's too childlike, or maybe they just weren't into K-pop, like K-pop, K-drama, none of the K culture. They weren't into it. They weren't feeling it. But then it came out, and so many people were talking about it. And I think it was parents whose kids watched it, and then they kind of did that thing where they hear it in the other room, and they go, oh, what's that? Like, that looks interesting, and they end up sitting down. Everybody I know who I don't assume would be like a K-pop Demon Hunter like kind of watcher, they all came out watching it and being like, it's actually kind of good. That seemed to be the tagline. Everybody like, actually, it's pretty good. And then I think it just snowballed from there. It was a word of mouth. A lot of people were surprised. People who aren't into animated films, pop music, whatever you want to call it, they're all loving it. And I think, though, at the end of the day, it's a good movie, and you don't get the hype without a good movie. Like, it doesn't have this type of staying power without actually being a wonderfully animated film, a really compelling story. It's not just hype. Like, you don't get continuing to be the #1 movie on Netflix that has like a million things to watch without it actually being a good. And I mean, it doesn't hurt that it has like some crazy good music in it as well. So everybody was probably just like bopping along to Golden or Your Idol or many.
Well, exactly, and you know, like, what you described, it was actually like exactly what happened in my household. Like my daughter, my daughter was totally like, she watched it 5 times. Every time she wanted to introduce someone to it, she would sit down and watch it with them again. And then finally, you know, she broke through my resistance to it. And
She brought joy into your life, Brad. She brought joy.
And look, I mean, you mentioned the music. Let's actually play. I want to play you a song that's currently #2 on the charts in Canada and the U.S.
I'm done hiding now. I'm shining like I'm born to be. We dreaming hard. We came so far now. I believe we're going up.
Okay, so that's Golden, a song by Huntrix. Huntrix being not a real K-pop girl group, but the girl group that's in K-pop Demon Hunters. And look, that's just one of 3 songs that's currently in the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. Regina, I mean, look, K-pop, it's been making waves for like a decade now, over a decade. So what do you make about like this movie and its significance when it comes to K-pop's evolution?
I mean, I think it's definitely gotten more people to listen to K-pop, especially people who didn't take it seriously before, or like, you know, as Rachel said, like people who thought the music was for kids and for teens. And yeah, like me too. Like I've heard like so many people tell me, like, you know, they were like, I'm not a K-pop fan, but I do love the songs in this movie. And so I think what this film has done is that it's made these people realize that, hey, K-pop can sound awesome when it's done right, and maybe K-pop is for them too. And you know, even though the songs in this movie are mostly sung in English, the overall sound is very much K-pop. I mean, you had K-pop fans comparing Golden to I Am by the K-pop girl group IVE. They were also comparing Free to Butterfly by BTS because those 2 songs sound somewhat similar. And for K-pop Demon Hunters, you know, you had some of the best songwriters and producers who work in K-pop involved in the soundtrack. And so again, like I think the movies proved that K-pop really is global now, and that K-pop songs can top charts around the world when they're done well. I mean, Golden is still the #1 song on Spotify here in the US. I think it's #1 also in Canada and around the world. And last week it was #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 as well, even though it's dropped to #2 this week. And honestly, I think the English language lyrics really made the songs more accessible for people. And also the fact that like the lyrics also help tell part of the story, I think, made it resonate even more.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing, like we mentioned that there's 3 in the top 10, but it's like literally 8 songs from this soundtrack are on the Billboard Hot 100. That's pretty much all the original songs from this movie. Jackson, I mean, look, K-pop is a thing. I always knew it was a thing, but it was always a thing that wasn't kind of entering my stratosphere. It's like these people are having conversations in that cubicle over there. So I've been able to avoid it, but not when it comes to K-pop Demon Hunters. Like it's just been unavoidable.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Like so talk to me about like how are you seeing the cultural dominance of this movie?
I mean, if you're on TikTok for more than 2 seconds, you're going to see someone do the My Little Soda pop. That's going to be in your face on nonstop. But I mean, outside of that, in my Elio bag, I'm bringing it back once again.
How are you doing this?
There's a connection to Elio again. So this movie's actually premiered around the similar time frames, and one of the dominant conversations has been, oh look, people actually want original storytelling. They don't want Elio's ugly animation, which I think is totally wrong. It's his own thing. But they don't want blasé, boring storytelling, which like I'm kind of strawmanning Rachel's argument earlier, but I don't think she would disagree with this, but in the sense of it being popular, it means it has to be a good story isn't necessarily true, because I think that what studios actually think is that if we make something palatable and kind of boring, it's going to reach more audiences. I think that's specifically what we saw with the Lilo and Stitch remake. They made it safe. They changed the ending. They took out all of the good stuff. They wanted to make it inoffensive, which made it a little bit worse, which made it make $1 billion. And when Sony pitched this movie, they're like, hey, or when Sony was pitched this movie by Maggie Kang, they're like, hey, too scary, about K-pop, all Asian cast. We don't want to take a risk on something that's going to be too divisive and too specific. But the end result on Netflix is people love this specificity, this real voice, this real story that's different, that's out there. Elio, for comparison, was initially supposed to be Adrian Molina's story about growing up queer and having all these specific aspects of Latino culture, etc. They toned it down, made it blasé, tried to get the most audiences they could, and it bombed because no one thought it was interesting enough. So this, I think, does show a yearning for specificity, for originality, for different types of stories that are for specific audiences that we're getting fewer of, where you see some flops, but also you get like Jurassic Park, or you get Lilo and Stitch, or you get all these blasé movies.
Yeah. And I just want to point out, like, Sony did end up making the movie.
Yeah.
They just ended up selling it to Netflix because they were like, oh, we don't know if this is going to work at the box office. As far as I understand. Rachel, I mean, look, this weekend, K-pop Demon Hunters, it's hitting theaters. It's hitting theaters in the sing-along form. So what do you think of this move coming along 6 weeks after it dropped on Netflix?
I love it. I think it's such a great idea. I mean, like, I'm not going, but like, I think it's amazing. I love that, like cinemas have been trying so hard to find a way, like, how do we get people back into theaters and spend the money, like have parents spend money for their families to go, which is increasingly getting out of hand these days. They've tried everything. You got 3D, 4D, D-Box, VIP, Screen X, IMAX, whatever. I think sing-alongs are such a great way to do it, and a lot more simple than the other options to do. Like, you think back to when Wicked came out, and there were people who were just really upset that people were singing and along to it. They were like, I paid money to hear Ariana and Cynthia sing, not like Patty from Whitby. I don't know her thing.
That's me.
And so they like come in. That just came out of nowhere. But I think it's a great idea, and it feels really old school in a way, doesn't it? Like, we obviously think of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That is probably the best example of when a crowd gets really into a film like that. And I think it's Sound of Music did the same thing. Every year I feel like Sound of Music comes out and families go to the theater, sing along to it, and it's a really joyous kind of community thing, which I think gets to the heart of why we go to the movies and why, as children especially, why we enjoyed going to the movies so much. So I think it's brilliant. I hope they do it more often.
Yeah, well, listen, then, Regina, you actually got to attend the sing-along earlier this week in New York. So talk to me about, like, did you experience everything that Rachel is hoping that everyone's going to experience? Like, and how did it even just change the experience for you when it comes to this movie?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that, when I first saw this movie, it was around like 1 a.m. and I saw it on my tiny laptop screen. So it probably wasn't the best experience, right? But then when I saw it the second time, that was actually the other day when I was at this advanced screening of the sing along that they had here in New York. And it was totally different. Like just watching it on the big screen, like the animation looks even cooler. The colors are more vibrant. And the theater that we were in, the Paris theater, it was pitch black. Like for some reason, I feel like it was a lot darker than most theaters I've been to. And so just everything about the movie just like really popped. And then what I thought was really funny was like every time a song came on, they had the lyrics in these huge captions at the bottom. And like even though most of the songs are like most of the lyrics are in English, like there are some Korean lyrics that are sprinkled in here and there. And so they had like romanized the Korean lyrics, and it just looked really strange on screen, right? It's like I wouldn't even know how to pronounce them, seriously, because like that's not really how I would write them in English. But anyway. But the crazy part was that like there's so many people in the audience who were singing along, even to some of the Korean parts. And some of them were like really good singers too. And I want to say like roughly half the people in the audience were kids. And so just to like see, especially the kids, like singing along to all these songs. And some of them had apparently memorized some of the lines too, like some of the lines of the dialogue. So it was a very cool communal experience, and I think it just made me even more excited about the movie.
And I guess no one was embarrassed that they couldn't hit those high notes in a song like Golden, right? Like,
actually, the crazy thing was like I felt like a few of them could.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
yeah,
Star
like, they were
Surge.
actually pretty.
well,
Yeah, so that's why I wasn't singing. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna let everyone else sing.
well, let me ask you, like, so in that theatrical experience, I mean, was there a specific song from the soundtrack that really like came through as the bop, the one bop from this movie?
I mean, to be honest, I felt like most of the audience was singing along to all the songs, so it's kind of hard to tell. But I remember the kids got really excited when Soda Pop came on and also Golden.
Right.
So those are probably like the top two
TikTok
songs, at least for the kids. Yeah.
So, well, Jackson, then, I mean, you hear all the enthusiasm about this. Are you going to then check this out on the weekend?
I'm so happy for these people, but no. I'm not a normal person. I just don't like. I hear the Taylor
you're a
Swift
killjoy.
concert film. I mean, if I'm in a theater and like someone's talking, I'm like, dude, like this isn't about you. And like I think it's gonna be a phones out theatrical experience, which I don't necessarily like. But like this is a fun experience. I'm so happy it's happening. I'm just not the target audience, let's say. But it's great that it's a cool, fun experience.
Well, then, I mean, let me ask you, when it comes to this movie's success, right? Like, what does this movie's success say about pop culture and just how it's evolving on this side of the globe?
I mean, I don't think that this is a watershed moment for South Korean pop culture. Obviously, as you mentioned, we have K-pop here for so long, but I think it does kind of showcase how that watershed moment has already happened and is already here. The idea that people are willing to get their biggest movie from a country outside of America, and that there's another big movie in theaters that's also showing that potentially as well, where we've gone past the point where you have kind of like hit and miss, like every now and then a South Korean or a UK movie that sometimes does numbers. It's the big kid on the hill or the kid on the top of the pedestal, et cetera, is kind of being toppled over for, the reasons that these industries are growing up on their own, and also America's kind of shot itself in the foot in the sense of being the good guy in all these different respects. And it's resulted in this time where like average audiences are willing to check out K-pop Demon Hunters and are actually clamoring for it, which is, I think it's really cool. I think it's a really cool thing.
I mean, clamoring. I mean, every theater I'm looking up is nearly sold out.
Yeah.
So it's like grab the. And look, I mean, we're going to move on from K-pop Demon Hunters, but I do want to point out one thing. The director, one of the directors of this movie, Maggie Kang, who you mentioned earlier, is Canadian, right? And our friends at Q, they recently spoke to her. She was talking about, how she cooked up this idea, how it comes from her passions and her culture. So really fascinating conversation. So make sure you check out the Q feed for that. And I'm Rad Simon Pillay, sitting in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. We are in the group chat here with Regina Kim, Rachel Ho. What's your name again? Jackson Weaver.
Something.
All right. And look, we're going to talk about that other movie you were kind of hinting at, the big movie that's set to take over North America.
Immortal. A demon. You are my son.
Time to cut
you down to size.
He's not exactly your average kid.
So that's a bit of the trailer for a film called Ne Zha 2. This is an epic animated fantasy film that came out in China back in January, and it quickly became the highest-grossing animated film of all time. Also, it's number 5 on the top grossing movies of all time. So it's like right there behind Titanic. Okay. Now, Rachel, like this movie, we were talking about this way back in March. All right, when it was already successful. So what do you think? I mean, this movie is now being re-released in theaters with this English language dub. What do you think of that move?
It makes sense to me. I mean, an English dub probably was not in their plan, the original release strategy plan when they devised this film. But given how successful it was in China, how curious people were around the world about it, and not just China, I should say, it was all across Asia. It did quite well, like in Mandarin-speaking countries, like it did pretty well. And how could they not do it? Like, how could you not then target the English-speaking community, especially when you have all that buzz? You have a massive Chinese diaspora right around the world who know about it through, different Chinese media outlets, Chinese YouTubers. So it's one of those things that the internet has made the world such a small place now that it doesn't surprise me at all that the buzz from one side of the world is going to make it to the other. And I also think it's probably going to be a move that we see more often coming out of mainland China. The last few years, a lot of at the end of the year, we always look at the highest grossing films of that year. Chinese movies have been in those lists in the last few years. Like The Wandering Earth 2, it was in 2023. It was number 9. It made 615 million. Battle of Lake at Changjin, that was a huge movie in China, and it made its mark in the worldwide box office as well. So outside of Hollywood movies, we've only really seen Chinese movies with any consistency in the last few years, save for 2020, which was a bit of a strange year. I think we can all agree with that. But I think, they have a huge population, and that does obviously help their box office numbers as well. But I don't think that you can, just ignore it in North America, in the UK, in Australia, New Zealand, wherever else it's going to come out with the English dub. I think it's going to be a trend that we see kind of coming out from China, and it'll be interesting to see, how their publicity department or the, central propaganda department, the group that in the government that handles the film industry in mainland China, it'll be interesting to see how they address it going on in the future, if at all. And I hope that they do, because I think that Chinese movies can be really great, and it'd be nice to have English-speaking audiences be able to take part in it in a way that I think they feel more comfortable, I suppose.
Well, I mean, Rachel, do you find it surprising that this movie is coming to North America through A24, which is, we think of A24 as this boutique indie distributor that we associate with like Hereditary or Uncut Gems, these kind of cultish horror movies or thrillers. Yeah, what do you make of them being the ones putting this out there, this English language dub?
Honestly, shocked when I first read that. When I read A24 picked up, I just seem so unlike them. Like you said, they have a reputation, they have a reputation that they have built their brand on. But I would say in the last few years, that reputation doesn't really ring as true as it used to, I'd say. They don't exactly represent, the edgy indie like they used to. I mean, they came out with Materialists earlier this year. Like, I feel like that says everything you need to know about where the studio is going. For a really long time, they were this antithesis to the Warner Brothers, the Paramounts, the Universals, those really big guys, the big studios, taking up the movies that I think those guys may have been a bit too afraid to take on, at least afraid to take on in the way that they were presented to them. But now, though, I think we can safely say A24, they are more or less one of the big studios. Like, they are right up there. They make a ton of money every year. And like any large company, they're going to be looking at products that are going to help them get the greatest return on investment. And how could the biggest grossing movie, one of the biggest grossing movies of all time, the biggest grossing movie of this year, how can that not be a safe bet for them?
Right.
And so it makes sense, but it was very surprising when I first saw that.
Yeah,
I think we were all a bit shocked.
Well, look, I mean, Regina, you have not seen Ne Zha 2, right? But does all of this hype around this movie, does that make you curious to see it?
I mean, it definitely makes me curious. And I have seen a lot of ads on Instagram in particular. Like I've seen various trailers and clips from the movie. And the visuals, I have to say, look amazing, like really like just extraordinary. But I have to admit that I feel kind of confused whenever I see one of the clips because I don't really like it's hard for me to understand what the story is about, and I'm not sure. Like I haven't seen the first movie either, so I don't know if I would have to know kind of the backstory or like Chinese mythology, which I think is what the movie is based on. Like do I need to know Chinese mythology in order to understand this movie? Or can I, like watch it? I think it's like what 2.5 hours long. Yeah. Can I like watch the whole movie without any background knowledge about Chinese mythology and still be able to follow along? Like I would say that's probably my biggest concern.
The concerns you have or the experience you have watching these ads and being confused, like that was my experience watching the movie. Okay, like I was like, what is like? There's just so many characters, and they're like they have these complicated backstories that they quickly come in and monologue before they all fight each other. But glorious animation and stuff. But that's how I experienced it. I mean, Jackson, you talked to me like this is a movie, a very dense 2.5 hour movie that's got all this Chinese mythology plus the original movie. Maybe I came into this like if I came to Avengers Endgame without having seen everything that came before it. What was your experience when it came to this movie?
You absolutely need to watch the first movie. It's like not even a debate. Like you will be so confused if you watch Ne Zha 2 because this is a story made for Chinese audiences rooted in a mythological character that they know so well. Going back to Investiture of the Gods, a 16th century novel, Journey to the West, a 16th century novel. It actually goes back to the Buddha Charita, an Indian text, and it has, the Legend of Ne Zha TV show. It has a Ne Zha Conquers the Dragon King, the Cannes film. There's so much backstory to this that this film is referencing, reinventing. There's a very famous connection between Ne Zha, or the trope that he has is he sacrifices himself to save his parents, and he has a war with his dad. This movie inverts that, and that commentary is specifically why this movie is connecting with Chinese audiences so much, because he's this like lovable rebel whose heroism comes from his ability to like change his destiny, Confucius ideas, Taoist ideas, so much baked into it that is built for an audience. It's like if you went to Shrek and didn't know who Pinocchio or the gingerbread man was, you would be so lost, and that's what this movie is. But once you get that, there's so much there that I think works even outside of those references. The story of belonging, of heartbreak, of feeling like a burden, of feeling like you don't belong, of friendship that made me cry multiple times because I'd watched like all this stuff beforehand. Whether or not it connects with American audiences, I actually do think it's a bit of a risk for A24 because if people don't watch Ne Zha 1, which is for free on YouTube, then they will be so lost. The word of mouth will spread that it's confusing. It won't do the numbers that it did elsewhere when it has that cultural baggage and connection. So I'm curious whether people will like it or not. I think that they should definitely watch Ne Zha 1, and then I think they will like Ne Zha 2.
Okay.
That's my take.
I think we found a movie that Jackson might like more than Elio, y'all.
It's tight. It's a tight contest.
Okay, look, I mean, thank you. Listen, we got to leave it there, but thank you all so much for being here with me. It's been fun.
It's been so fun.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.